When I was 21, I spent a lot of time alone at my parents' house. They owned multiple properties, so they were often away, leaving me in this big place by myself. Our house sat right on the edge of a pond, and across the water there was a small town park. The neighborhood was upscale, with large, spaced-out properties, so it always felt a little isolated, especially at night. It was a random summer night, and I was home from college. I don't even remember if it was a weekend or just a regular weekday, but it didn't matter. I was alone, as usual. I was in the sunroom, my favorite spot in the house during summer. The windows were open, letting in the night air, and I was curled up on the couch watching TV. Then I heard something, a splashing sound. At first, I ignored it. Probably just a duck or a goose fighting in the water, but it didn't stop. It was too heavy, too rhythmic, like someone was swimming. I muted the TV, leaned closer to the window and listened. The splashes were slow, deliberate. And then I heard something else. Humming. A deep, eerie humming of a man. I got up and stepped onto the back deck, looking out into the darkness of the pond. The sound stopped immediately. I couldn't see anything, just the black, still water stretching out before me. My stomach twisted. Whoever it was, they saw me. Maybe it was just a neighbor, but that didn't make sense. No one swam in the pond, ever. I went back inside, locking the door behind me. I texted my brother about it, but he didn't reply right away. I tried to focus on my show, but I couldn't shake the unease settling over me. The windows in the sunroom were big, and with the TV on, I knew I was completely visible from outside. I reached for the remote to turn it off, and then I heard it. A noise, a soft thud. I froze, heart pounding, straining to listen. And then I realized it was breathing. Someone was standing right outside one of the windows, breathing heavily. I barely had time to react before a voice, low, deep, and steady, spoke from the darkness. "I see you." I felt my blood turn to ice. I couldn't decide whether to respond or stay silent, so I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. "Paul, is that you?" Paul was one of our neighbors. Maybe, just maybe, it was him messing with me. Silence. Whoever was out there didn't respond. They just stood there, breathing. And then footsteps, barefoot footsteps, retreating into the night. I lay flat on the couch, my heart hammering in my chest. After what felt like forever, I finally worked up the nerve to check all the doors. Locked. Every single one. I texted my parents, my brother, my entire family. My dad told me to turn on the backyard lights and check if anyone was still out there. I didn't want to, but I had to do something. I grabbed the biggest knife from the kitchen and stepped onto the deck. The night was still, silent. And then I saw them. Wet footprints. Bare. Human. Footprints. They led around the deck, disappearing down the side of the house. My breath hitched as I followed them with my eyes, and then I saw him. The top of someone's head, just barely peeking over the edge of the deck. His eyes locked onto mine. We stared at each other for a split second, just long enough for the terror to fully set in, before he ducked down and disappeared into the darkness. I ran inside and locked everything. Called 911 before even telling my parents. When the cops arrived, they did a sweep of the property. They asked if we had any enemies, any neighbors who didn't like us, but there was nothing. No clues, no explanations. He was just gone. That night, I shut every window in the house, turned on the air conditioning, and stayed awake until sunrise. I never saw him again. But I still have no idea who he was. or what he wanted.